What's up everybody, my name is Dwight and welcome back to GeForce Garage. Today we are featuring a custom gaming rig by Brandon McCarthy of Mellow mods for international music artist and DJ Zedd.
What's up guys? I'm Anton, also known as Zedd. We're here in my studio where I make music. I think I started gaming when I was probably like 4 years old. It's one of my earliest memories. My parents' friends came over. I didn't even know what the console was. It probably was some version of Atari. And I remember just being really fascinated with gaming ever since. And then my first introduction to gaming was stuff like Sonic the Hedgehog and Ninja Turtles. Essentially, I just gamed my whole life until I discovered multiplayer gaming. And then eventually I discovered Counter-Strike, which sort of started my multiplayer competitive gaming story. And anything between Overwatch and Valorant became like my main games. Honestly, back in the day when I started gaming, when I still lived in Germany, I don't even know what my components were. And the 3090 I remember vividly because that's sort of when I restarted gaming again after taking a very long hiatus. I feel like that was also the card that was really ahead of its time and really fast, obviously, and would provide the most FPS. Yeah, this is a real dream come true. And when NVIDIA and I started the conversation about what a custom one-of-one unique computer may look like, I really like the idea of following the design aesthetic that I have in my current house, which is very natural, lots of wood tones. I just like the idea of it feeling more natural.
Before we dive into the details of the build, let's talk about why we chose designer and builder Brandon McCarthy. When Zedd told us that he wanted a new rig that would complement the woodwork in his home, we just had to reach out to Brandon. Having previously showcased his woodworking skills on GeForce Garage with both Project Breadbox and most recently Josh, we knew we had the right guy for the job. Now let's go check in with Brandon. Well, hey there, Brandon. Welcome back to GeForce Garage.
Thanks for having me.
So what did you bring us today?
Today we brought the Zedd build.
Gotcha. So you're obviously working within your strengths here. Another wood build. Can you tell me a little bit of how you came up with the concept for this one?
Yeah, so we've been engaging Zedd's team, and they mentioned how he's going through a new remodel and he really likes that clean wood aesthetic. His home's incorporating a lot of white oak accents and features. So we decided to run with that and incorporate the majority of the case as a white oak finish.
Gotcha. Okay, so are you building around like an existing computer case already, or?
No, this is an entirely scratch build case, all the way from the ground up.
Gotcha. So how do you even start building something like that? I assume you probably start with like the motherboard part, right?
Yes. So I really like to build the case around the components themselves. And to help speed up the time, I went with a Singularity Computers Spectre motherboard tray. So I didn't use the whole case, I just used the motherboard tray and heavily modified it to allow for the design aesthetic that I was looking for.
How did you come up with the actual panels? Is it all 4 panels, or did you try to do it as like a unibody sort of thing?
Yeah, unibody would be very difficult with wood. So we have different components that are built all around each other. So it starts with the base plate, which incorporates the mounting location for the power supply, the motherboard tray, and then all the different connection points for the rest of the case. So we utilized a really fun joinery technique called mortise and tenon. So the stiles, which are the vertical pieces, have a tenon on them that slot into a cavity on the base plate. It adds a lot of structural strength because there's a lot more glue area, but also makes sure that things are aligned perfectly with the edge of the case.
I assume that has to be pretty difficult to do something like that, especially with wood, you know, because it's not as precise as like metal would be.
Correct. And a lot of things that people don't understand with wood specifically is it's always a moving substance. It's a organic product that isn't always going to maintain its same shape.
So how do you combat stuff like that? Do you just have to leave it out, or do you put in like metal backing or something?
Yeah, so there's a couple different techniques, joinery being one of them that kind of helps keep it true. But I also incorporated custom metal panels to strengthen the rear panel, top and front. And then the wood frame is encapsulated around that.
So tell me a little bit about the exterior decoration that you did on that case.
Sure. So for the front and top panel, in this particular case, the front is going to be the intake radiator and the top is going to be the exhaust radiator. And those radiators are mounted to those panels I had mentioned to you, but obviously that's not a very clean look for what I'm going for. So we custom milled a top panel and a front panel that has vertical grooves on the front and then chevron shapes on the back pointing upwards and frontwards towards the case. So it creates this kind of 3D pattern as you look through it.
So the inside of it is it's matte black with a little pops of copper, but the back of it is actually very vibrant.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about the glass?
Absolutely. So the back of the computer incorporates a piece of Zedd's album art. We worked with a company called V1 Tech. They specialize in sublimation printing on computer panels and a lot of different other PC components. They were able to help us invert his image so that we can print it on the back of the glass with a white backing, so that if we backlight it, it'll help some of the light shine through and kind of make it a little bit more vibrant.
So is there anything someone looking at this PC for the first time may not recognize or see that you want to call out?
Sure. On the back panel, one of a technique I've learned in my breadbox build, we basically cut out a structure or a shape in the metal, but left the metal in place with tabs, and then bend over that metal, and it creates a bracket mount for the GPU.
Speaking of the actual GPU itself, what are the rest of the specs of the PC?
So we went with a Asus CROSSHAIR Hero motherboard that's running the AMD Ryzen 9800X3D. We paired that up with 96 gigs of RAM. For game storage, we went with a couple of 4 terabyte SSDs, M.2. And of course, that's running the GeForce RTX 5090 Founders Edition. And all of it's being powered by a 1200 watt power supply by Corsair.
Okay, well, I don't think that he's going to have any problem running anything, but how about we install a couple of games and see how well it performs?
Absolutely.
Now, Zedd gave us a couple of games he's playing right now, the first of which is Red Dead Redemption 2. At 4K resolution with DLSS set to performance and graphics settings set to maximum, we're seeing around 160 to 170 FPS on average in Saint Denis. In Overwatch 2, again at 4K with graphics set to epic and DLSS enabled, we sit pretty comfortably around 300 FPS. And lastly, in Valorant at 4K and graphics settings set to high, I saw an outrageous 650 to 700 average frames per second. Thanks, Zedd, for your hospitality. Brandon, I love how you displayed the album cover on the back. If you guys enjoyed this type of video and would like to see more, hit that subscribe button down below, and I'll see you for the next one.